Feeling the guilt of never enoughness. Hey, it's Heather Chauvin, wife, mother of 3 boys, former social worker, dreamer, recovering rescuer, stage 4 cancer survivor. I started my motherhood journey when I was 18. I was single and living off government assistance. Beyond all of these titles and labels, I'm a human being, just like you, attempting to navigate it all while feeling good. My goal on this podcast is to show you that you can live an energized, sustainable life both at home and in your work. On this show, I attempt to keep it real with stories, interviews, and random thoughts. This is not a business or career podcast, and it's not a parenting podcast. It's both and so much more. You will laugh, you will cry, and maybe even get a little frustrated with the truth you've been hiding from yourself. I believe all human behavior is a language, whether it's through your child's behavior, your health, or a relationship. And when we learn to listen instead of react, we begin to understand what it truly means to feel alive and in control. If you haven't already, go grab a copy of my book, Dying to Be a Good Mother. You can purchase it wherever books are sold online. And if you're interested in how to integrate this work into your life and get quicker results, you can learn more about my mastery and mastery business coaching experiences at heatherchauvin.com/work with me. Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com/work with me. And you have a personal question or a topic you'd like me to answer on this podcast, then text me 313-710-5199. 313-710-5199. All right, let's change your life. Let's dig in. Hey ladies, I am back, and today I am sharing a bonus session with you. I feel like I'm finally getting back in the groove. So many things going on behind the scenes, and you'll probably hear about it in the next few weeks. Today I wanted to talk about the damn guilt. Ladies' guilt, woman guilt, mother guilt, the dreaded guilt, the G word that is an infection that gets in your bloodstream and in your brain and somehow turns into shame of I am not enough. Rather than I am not doing enough, which is guilt, turns into shame. I still experience this a lot, and I get a lot of text messages from you on the app that I use with the community. So you're welcome to text me 313-710-5199, engaging in conversations with all of you around, the podcast, topics that are coming up and things that we'll be doing in the future. And one of the biggest, kind of topics that we have many conversations around is guilt. And with the summer coming down to dwindling down, depending on where you are, I know some of you are not in a summer season. You live in other parts of the country, or your kids are already back to school, or who the hell knows what that looks like. But anyways, my point is this not enoughness, this pressure and expectation of perfectionism that we put on ourselves. That is a very privileged and white, experience of perfectionism. And what I mean by that is even having the opportunity to attempt to make something perfect, many people do not have that option. And then we overcompensate and we overdo, we overmother, we extend ourselves, and it actually does more harm than good. We are left exhausted and depleted. The tricky part is you have control over this, but the extremely uncomfortable truth is that you have to take radical responsibility for how you want to feel. Like nobody else is going to be able to do that for you. So there was a woman that sent me a message and she said, I feel, really guilty and shitty because I wasn't able to provide the experience for my children that they wanted this summer. And there's so many things in that statement. And one, I just wanted to say, I hear you, right? Because there are even moments where my thoughts drift to that story of, I'm not doing enough. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing way more than enough. And if you are a working parent, which all of you work, by the way, even if you don't work in traditional jobs, you are managing a household, you're managing a lot. So when I say working parent, I mean every single parent. Every single parent is working in some capacity. Maybe it's not traditional. But if you don't value the work that you do, meaning if you don't value yourself as a human and the output that you put into the world and the impact that you make, nobody else will value that either, which is why so many stay-at-home moms or work-from-home moms or house managers are burnt out, overwhelmed, exhausted, and fatigued, and women in general and humans in general, because if we are not valuing ourselves, nobody else is going to value us. So the comment of feeling like you're never doing enough comes from lack, but it also comes from this devaluation of ourselves and our worth and the work that we do. So let me give you an example of this. You plan a vacation, or you plan a getaway with your family, or you plan a staycation, or you plan a fun weekend, or whatever the hell it is. And the next week you have to get some shit done, right? So Monday comes, you start working, and depending on the age of your children, they're doing their own thing. Maybe they're getting a little more screen time than you'd like them to, or, they're off to a caregiver, or you just throw some frickin' Cheerios on the floor and you stick them in front of a TV and you just try to keep them alive. And then guilt, right? Not enoughness. I should be doing this and I should be doing that. But in reality, we can't be in two places at once. Like, we cannot be the entertainer and the one who pays the bills. Like, it's just impossible. Like, you can't do that. And I don't know where in history this belief came to be that we need to be it all, right? This whole, how do you do it all? Like, nobody fucking does it all. We need to stop saying that in our vocabulary. The fact that we're asking that question already indicates that we don't feel like we're enough, right? We're just trying to be too much for everybody. So here's the point. The point is, when we reflect on our own childhood, regardless of the trauma of your own childhood or not, I want you to think about the bigger picture of parenting. That children typically, of course, this is going to be different depending on where you live and your childhood experience, but from a cultural perspective, there was a lot less pressure on caregivers to entertain their children. Like, I never remember that feeling of my mother trying to do acrobatics and entertain me 24 hours a day. She worked, and when she wasn't working, I had to entertain myself. Yes, we did things together, but a lot of the time I was playing with friends. And the culture has shifted, and when the culture shifts, what happens? We as women take on the burden of the cultural shift, right? So a lot of times, and I don't know about you, but the individualization of childhood is a real thing. And I think that has happened over the years because of screens and all of that. Here's my point of today's podcast. Culture is not going anywhere. The cultural conversation is not going anywhere. The expectation for parenting is not going anywhere. The definition of childhood and parenting in modern world is not going anywhere. And it's not your responsibility to be everything to your child. But here's the thing. If you want to feel emotionally free, and you want to raise children that are emotionally free, and emotionally free does not mean that they never experience anger, sadness, trauma, depression. It's that when they do, they feel somewhat in control because they have this awareness that there is this inner world, and that in the inner world, they too have control over that they can create space for themselves, that they can critically think about how they feel. If we want our children to experience that inner world and that freedom and to step away from the culture and to say, how do I want to feel? The only way to do that, like 110%, the only way that we are going to get our children to do that is to do that ourselves. And this last, what I was going to say year, but almost 2 years now, what it has shown me and what I'm hearing from other women that are in my circles is this additional pressure, right? It's like a pressure cooker. First, there was already these cultural expectations of who you needed to be as a mother, as a wife, as a human being, caregiver, working from home, work at home, whatever. Now is this, our children are with us more, so now we need to be their entertainers, we need to be their educators, we need to be all these things. But in order to create emotional independence, in order to create psychological independence, in order to create independent children, it doesn't mean that they have to be strong and do everything for themselves. It's that they need to learn critical thinking skills and that they need to be able to sit with their emotional discomfort. And in order for them to do that, we need to be able to do that as well. So my permission slip for you today is to opt out of culture. That's it. You get to opt out today. Maybe for 10 minutes, maybe for an hour. Just getting little brave, courageous action steps. Maybe you unsubscribe from social media. Maybe you just, when you're getting invited to all these events and you don't want to go, you just say, no, thank you. I don't have the capacity for that right now. Maybe this year, you're re-entering and you realize that you had way too much on your plate with children's activities. And maybe it was putting a financial strain and you're like, we're not going to do that. Whatever it is, I just give you 110% permission to opt out. Because if we are going to change the cultural conversation, we have to be the change. End of discussion. When we're expecting something bigger or someone else to change that first, it's never going to change. It's how we take a stand for ourselves with those little micro action steps. We get to do that. That's a fucking privilege that you get to do that. You get to have the freedom to say, no, thank you. I'm actually going to do less. I'm going to buy less. I'm going to invest in inner development. I'm going to invest in experiences. And I know that that's disappointing, right? You're going to disappoint your children. You're going to disappoint your partners. You're going to disappoint other people. And I just always encourage you to disappoint others. And especially when you're doing it from a place of love and compassion, to really take a stand for how you want to feel. And if you ever want to know what this truly feels like when you're in your home, just raise a teenager. When your teenager begins to call you out on your shit, that's a whole other conversation, and I'll probably do another podcast on it. But today, my message for you is just you get to opt out of the toxic culture of motherhood and womanhood and create your own. So what does that culture look like for you today? What is the culture that you want to create in your home, in your mind, in your body? And what is one little baby, tiny action step that you get to take today to shift the energy, to shift that current? And if you want a little kickstart on where to start, then join us for the Why Not You workshop. We're going to be hosting it September 16th. It's $17, and I am going to definitely give you the boost that you need, but we're going to be doing some of the work together. So head on over to Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com/why not? Why not you? Explain it to me. Why can't you feel good and raise wildly independent, emotionally intelligent children? Why not you? Well, that's it. And I wanted to thank you for listening today because I truly believe you are exactly where you need to be. And now I have a favor to ask. In exchange for the value you've gained from this free podcast, I'd be forever grateful if you would leave us a review on iTunes. Share the show with at least one woman in your life who you feel would benefit, and or take a screenshot and share it on social media. And always feel free to tag me at Heather Chauvin. The world does not benefit from your guilt and fatigue. The world needs more women who are willing to unlearn everything they've been taught. Women who are courageous enough to feel good and not let guilt run the show. I believe you are that courageous woman. To see if my community and coaching is the right fit for you and your big vision, the relationships you desire, the money, time, energy that you know deep down you are capable of creating, then head on over to heatherchauvin.com/work with me. That's Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com/work with me, and take the next step in the right direction. Taking a stand for how you feel means you are taking a stand for how your children show up as adults. And if you have a personal question or topic you'd like me to answer on the podcast, text me 313-710-5199. 313-710-5199. You are so worthy of feeling good. Now go do some scary shit.